breath basics, or pranayama, one of the 8 limbs of yoga. One of the first things that we want to go through in our practice is to set up our breath, both for ourselves, our own personal practice, and also in our yoga classes. When we're teaching a more of an asana or physical based practice, we want to set up that breath. The breath is really the most important thing that we're setting up, the element that we're really trying to perfect within our practice, to keep it slow, steady, controlled, all of that. So in Sanskrit, it's called prana. In other languages, it might be called something else, like chi or other things. And it's translated into your life force. So prana it doesn't just say, prana is not equal to breath, it equals life force. It's your life-giving energy. You are nothing without having breath. You are not alive without your breath. It's one thing that we constantly do unconsciously and keeps us alive and vital. And having a not so great breath style and pattern within our bodies can really hinder and do some damage to our physicality, to how we feel, to our stress levels. So checking in with your breath and actually noticing your breath and changing your breath can both change your life, change your body, and change your mind awareness, everything about yoga. So into the breath. So we are born actually knowing how to breathe. Imagine a little baby. I have a baby, so it's actually easy to imagine. And how they breathe with their little belly poofing out and then belly sucking in, and you don't see any part of their chest breathing at all. So that's what we're going for, is that deep belly breath. Belly breath means sending your oxygen, your inhale, down to that dantian area. That's a Tibetan term for that kind of pool of energy down here. The origin of our movements too, origin of everything that we do is down in this life-giving place. So we want to send our breath here. When we start to get stressed or life gets in the way, we end up shallow breathing. So our breath comes up and up into the chest. That's where we get stress and tension in the shoulders and just don't feel so great. So our breath, we're going to start to fill it up from the bottom and then all the way to the top. So full breath. I had you guys practicing, and I want you to practice for a few minutes to lie down. It's sometimes the easiest way to relax and really feel the breath. To lie down, one hand can be on your belly, the other hand on your heart. So right hand belly, left hand heart. And to breathe into the bottom hand, that right hand first, and then fill the space between, and then inhale into that heart space. And when you exhale, first down through that right hand, that belly portion, exhaling, and then that space in between, and then the chest last. So it's like this ocean wave that comes in and out. So that's that deep breath that we take. And if you take 5 deep breaths, you can really help to change your life, to change the way you feel, to calm your nervous system, your entire being. So taking deep breaths, practice some deep breaths. And just acknowledge and notice how that feels in you. So there's a few different breath styles that we're going to go through in time. This is just really reminding you of the basics of breathing down deep into your belly. As you breathe into your lungs, your diaphragm is going to press down or moves down, or just kind of like this dome-like muscle shape in the lungs. It presses down, and as you exhale, it lifts back up. So it also can be called diaphragmatic breathing because the diaphragm is down in your belly. It's not in your chest, it's not in your ribcage, it's down in the belly. So press down as you inhale, filling up, and then exhale, it pulls up as you empty. Okay, so with our breath, one of the first things we do in our classes is to set up the breath. This is one of your homeworks, it was one of our presentations, and one of the things that you'll have to do if you missed this weekend, this module. So breath setup. Practice breathing a few deep breaths, and you're going to set the breath up, telling people how to breathe in your classes, or also reminding yourself how to breathe. We have a 3-part script. Fairly simple, and I give you an example right here, and I also can share with you a few other examples if and when I have them. Within the first couple minutes of a yoga practice, so let's say you're starting in your initial pose, whatever that might be, you want to mention how the breath works and how you're using the breath and what you do with your breath. So those are the three things. Number one, what your breath does. So what your breath does is it helps keep you in the present moment. It is your life force. It is your test of vitality. It is it shows you how you're feeling. So what your breath does, it connects you to the present moment. Number two is how you actually breathe. So physically, the physical components, what is it that we're actually doing? So talk about either the belly, or talk about in and out through the nose, or talk about how you're taking that deep breath, what it feels like and how you do it. And then number three, let's talk about why we breathe this way, or how to use it, how to use your breath. And that's how to use it is to modify or intensify. So if your breath, you check in with your breath and it's choppy or labored or isn't feeling right, then you modify or back off. If your breath is feeling, fluid and solid and like you're continuing that great breath style, you might want to intensify in your poses or in your practice. So it's a guideline or barometer or a check-in point for your practice. So this is what I have on the back page of that little three-part is for you to come up with your own 1-minute script based on those three things and mentioning those three things. How the breath connects us to the present moment, how to actually do it, and then modifying, intensifying by checking in with the breath. Here is, if I read these three little paragraphs, that should be our 1-minute script, so I'll give you an example right now. Our breath is a lesson in the universe, and is your most precious resource. All things come and go just like the breath. Think about how you breathe in different emotional states. We often let our emotions affect our breathing. Turn it around and use your breath to affect your emotions and stay connected in the present moment. Inhale through the nose, down the back of the body, filling the lungs from bottom to top. And as you exhale, the breath circles up through the front of the chest and again out through the nose. So feel that ocean wave of a breath filling your lungs and then emptying. Use your breath as your guide. When it gets choppy or labored, back off or modify. When your breath is feeling pretty fluid or solid or good, and the mind starts to wander away from the breath, that's a good cue to intensify or try to add a little bit more to your practice. There you go, that was my 1-minute script. There's so many ways, millions of ways that you could do your own, but just to have something that you can go to on the fly. So someone asks you to teach a class and you're like, I've got my breath script, I know how to start my class. Start them in the pose, the initial pose, and then we're going into that breath script. It doesn't have to always be 1 minute, always like a full 1 minute. It's good to take some pauses, but just for this exercise, I'm just letting you know that from reading it, it shouldn't take longer than a minute. Adding some pauses, maybe it's a couple minutes. So make a breath script that feels best for you and that you are able to say at a moment's notice.